Hello guys, I'm finally back recording a video. This is a total shock. I have not recorded a video in absolute ages. I promise you, I'm actually back this time. Anyway, before getting to the video, I'm just about to make an announcement in the next clip about. So you might know, if you're a fan of the Championship, obviously I do Championship predictions on this channel, score prediction videos. There is some games going on tonight and tomorrow. We will not predict those games because it's too late basically, but we'll do the Premier League games tomorrow night. There's 2 tomorrow night, and then we'll do the whole fixtures over the weekend, and there'll be a video on the Monday predicting the midweek games. I don't know whether there's any midweek games in the Championship or not, but I'll find out when we get to it. Anyway, please make sure you like and subscribe if you like the video, if you're excited that I'm back, and make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get as close as we can to 150 subscribers by the end of this year. Anyway, let's get to the video. We're going to start off with Premier League, because Premier League starts, this round of fixtures starts on the Saturday, so we'll start Premier League. Oh, so that makes sense. So tomorrow night's Premier League fixtures are the start of game week, whatever it is, and then the fixtures for Liverpool and Brentford and that on the Monday are the start of the next round. So that means I've got to push my video forward to Sunday. Confusing, but I mean, festive football is confusing. Anyway, we're going to get into West Ham versus Brentford, which is the first game we've got to predict. I have both teams. Brentford obviously got that 2-2 draw against Spurs. They were alright, but they bottled it at the end. West Ham have been a bit inconsistent this season and have really struggled to score goals. So I don't know what to predict on this video, on this game, but I'm going to go. I think West Ham eventually need to get their arse into gear, and I'm going to go, I think they're going to start doing that. I'm going to go for a 2-1 West Ham win. Now we go into Liverpool versus Leicester. Now Liverpool obviously signed Cody Gakpo. What a signing. I mean, I think the guy's going to be absolutely phenomenal for Liverpool, but I think it gives him loads of options in that attacking area. But what next for Bobby Firmino? We might talk about it in a video if we do transfer roundup or something. But Leicester, they were really poor against Newcastle, struggled to match their intensity. Newcastle started with an intensity from the outset, and Leicester never really matched it. I'm going to go for a 2-0 Liverpool win in this game. Now we move on to Wolves versus Manchester United. Now Wolves, they beat Everton, who are winless in, I think it's 10 Premier League games in the last game, and they got a really good late equal winner from Elinori, and obviously they're in this Lopetegui era. Meanwhile, Manchester United battered my side, Nottingham Forest, as you can see up there from the shirt. What a shirt, by the way. Yeah, they battered my side. I mean, there was poor defending from all 3 of the goal scorers, but we'll talk about that when we do the Forest game later. But I'm going to go for a 2-0 Manchester United win in this game. Now we're going to Bournemouth versus Palace. Now Bournemouth, they lost against Chelsea on on Tuesday, but they've been a bit mismatched, they've been a bit inconsistent, I think, this season. I think they will drop down to relegation. I think they will be one of the ones that get relegated. Bournemouth fans, don't come at me, but I think you will get relegated. Meanwhile, Palace have been a bit inconsistent, and they got 10 players sent off. 10 players sent off. What am I on about, Owen? 2 players sent off and went down to 9 men against Fulham. And that just a nail in the coffin for that game. They were never going to come back with 9 men. But I think this game, I think they can win it 2-1 against Bournemouth. So I'm going to go to a 2-1 Palace win. Now we're moving to Fulham versus Southampton. Now Fulham, they've been really good. I think you have that surprise package in every Premier League season, and I think Wolves are that surprise package, and I fancy them, right, as they go on to maybe get top 10. Who knows, they might fall off at some point during the season. Fulham fans, again, don't come at me. I'm not saying you will fall off during the season. You might fall off during the season, but they face the Southampton side who have been really poor recently, and I feel like they could be one getting caught adrift maybe at the bottom of the table, Southampton. I mean, they've got a big game versus us. I think that's going to be a really crucial game. But anyway, I'm going to go for a 2-0 Fulham win. Now we move on to the game that the Etihad on Saturday between Manchester City and Everton. Everton winless in 10 Premier League games. Meanwhile, Manchester City have a robot in attack called Erling Haaland. If you've not heard of Erling Haaland, you're living under a rock, mate. But yeah, Haaland got a brace, and I think this could be it could be a weekend to maybe triple captain Erling Haaland with a Premier League home game against Everton. I might do that, in fact. Anyway, I think I'm going to go for this game. Will be interesting. I think Everton, they won't be interesting. It'll be all one way. You watch. I'll say 5-0 Man City, but Everton will end up fluking this like 1-0 or something. Now we're getting to Newcastle versus Leeds. Now Newcastle this season have been really good to watch. The intensity is really high, and I think we should be in for a really good game in this game. Newcastle versus Leeds, I think it could be a good game. Leeds are really intense. They're a really good side to watch. So I think Newcastle, the way they're playing at the moment, Newcastle just edged this 2. Why am I holding up 3 fingers? 2-1. Now we're getting to Brighton versus Arsenal. Now Brighton, I think they lost. No, they won 3-1 on Boxing Day against Southampton, and Southampton are really terrible at the moment. Like, terrible is a word to describe them. But I think against an Arsenal side who are top of the league, I think this is where they lose under De Zerbi. I think it's going to be 2-0 Arsenal. Now we're moving to Spurs versus Villa. Spurs have been really good comeback kings, but they can't afford to do that against Villa, who look really good against Liverpool. I thought they were really unlucky against Liverpool. I thought Liverpool just more clinical. It's just one of those games where the more clinical side won. I think Spurs like a comeback. They drew 2-2 in the last game. I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw. Now moving to Forest versus Chelsea. Now, for Forest, I think it's just we can't rely on home form to keep us up. We can get something out of this game against Chelsea, like especially with our home fans and that. I think we can get something out of Chelsea. But I think if you ask me, who would you rather win against? It's definitely Southampton. We've got to win against Southampton. We've got to get an away win. We've got to get an away record. Meanwhile, away goal. Meanwhile, Chelsea have been really inconsistent recently. So they've been like mismatched. I think they've been inconsistent. So I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. Yeah, I think it's going to be a 1-1 draw. I think Chelsea just too inconsistent at the moment. Anyway, let's move on to Championship games, and later on there'll be a prediction league update, which is really tight at the moment. Blackburn versus Cardiff. Now, I think this game is going to be a very interesting game. Cardiff are very poor. Blackburn are a good side. I think Blackburn will just have too much for Cardiff and win 1-0. Now we're going to Blackpool versus Sunderland. Blackpool are a bit inconsistent, a bit mismatch. Should have lost to Hull, Then Sunderland, they're really good at the moment. Obviously, they got the last game they played, I think they got a last minute winner. So I fancy Sunderland to get something from this game. I'm going to go for a 2-1 Sunderland win. Now we get into Coventry versus Bristol City. Now the comments at Bristol City, Nigel Pearson said about Bristol City fans in their away in their home game last game were absolutely appalling about the fact that the fans don't get behind the players. It's just excuses. Like the fans are the ones that actually care about the club. It just seems like he doesn't actually care about the club. Meanwhile, Coventry, obviously, they could get points deduction if the pitch is unsafe to play on again. So obviously, but they're really good this season, apart from that game against Sheffield United, which is a blip. But everyone's going to lose this Sheffield United way. I'm going to go for a 2-1 Coventry win though. Huddersfield versus Luton. Huddersfield may have beaten Preston. I don't know how they're going to do in the games that are on tonight and tomorrow, but I still think I still worry for them. I think Preston was just, it could have been a sign of things turning, but it could also just be a fluke. Anyway, Luton, I think Luton are a really good side. Now they've got Nathan, whatever, I think it's Nathan Edwards in charge. So I fancy them to get up the table a bit and start to improve. I'm going to go for a 1-0 Luton win. Now we're going to Millwall versus Rotherham. Now Millwall, I think that Zion Fleming guy that they've got is very good, and I think he can carry them. Meanwhile, Rotherham, they're a very poor side. So I'm going to go for a 2-0 Millwall win. Now we're moving to Birmingham versus Boro. We're going to talk about Boro. Chuba Akpong has really changed for them, and is now become a really good player. And Michael Carrick's Boro will go really on the rise. Birmingham have been a really good side all season. A bit inconsistent though. Can win a game and then will lose the next game. But I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw in this game. I think it's going to be a very interesting game. Now we're going to Norwich versus Watford. Now Norwich have obviously just sacked Dean Smith, so it'd be interesting to see how they cope with life without Dean Smith, and obviously interim managers versus Watford side that are very inconsistent. The word inconsistent's been used a lot in this video, and I think they've lost one of their best players, João Pedro, for a bit, so that'll make things even worse. So I'm going to go for a 1-0 Watford Norwich win. Now we're moving to Stoke versus Preston. Now Stoke, a very, yet again, cliche word this video, inconsistent side. Inconsistent. And can be if mismatch, like you hit him on, if they hit him on a bad day, if they hit him on a good day for Stoke, then they'll beat you. But they do have bad days as well. I mean, they're like any football side, got good days and bad days. Now Preston they've been up there. I don't know whereabouts they are in the table. Wait, let me just check. I think they're quite up there. Sports football. Preston are 11th, so the mid-table, so not a bad start to the season for them, and I think they get 3 points here and win 2-1. Now moving to Swansea versus Burnley. I think Swansea have been very good side. I think they've been one of the best sides in the league when they can actually play football. But that depends on when they really play football. But they're up against a Burnley side who are very good here, and I fancy Burnley as one of the teams that go up. I think it'd be Burnley and Sheffield United that go up. But I'm going to go for a 2-0 Burnley win. Now we move into West Brom versus Reading. Now Reading are a very I'm going to talk about Reading first. Reading are very up there on the table. West Brom are on the turnaround, so I think it's two teams that are in form. So I think there's only one outcome, and that's a draw. 1-1 for this game. I don't think there'll be any split in the two sides. I think they're two evenly matched sides. Now we move on to Wigan versus Hull. I think Wigan, they're down there towards the bottom of the league, 23rd in the league, versus a Hull side who are 21st and 3 points ahead of them, both on the same goal difference. I think Hull are very mismatched, inconsistent. They've won 7, drawn 6 and lost 11, and Wigan have won 6, drew 6 and lost 12. I fancy Hull though in this game. I think Hull will take this game and win 2-0. Now we move to QPR versus Sheffield United. Now QPR sit in 8th in the table right now. Recently lost their manager, haven't they, to I think he went to Rangers. Yes, he did. And obviously on search for a new, I think they found a new manager. I can't remember. I don't know whether they do have a manager or not. But obviously they will have assistant managers. But yeah, QPR are very up there at the moment. They're just playing right now. In fact, it's 1-0 to Luton. So you could tell me the score in the comments below, though I might already know it. Excuse me. Sheffield United are a very good side. They obviously beat Coventry, and I think there's a really big gap between Sheffield United and Blackburn, and I think Sheffield United are going to go up. I think there's no denying that. They've got such a good side this season, and I think QPR will have to be on it to keep them back, to stop them. So I'm going to go for a 2-0 Sheffield United win. Now let's get into the Prediction League update. Now, the Prediction League update, if anyone wants to see it, I normally post the Prediction League updates on community tab as like sneak peek videos as well. So the Prediction League is: first is Shigstar on 18, second is Jake on 17, third is Liam Hurdley on 13, fourth is Charlie Brown on 12, fifth is Riley on 12, sixth is me on 11, seventh is James Macy on 9, eighth is Blue Terrier on 8. Coincidentally, he's in 8th and he's got 8 points. And ninth with an absolute shocking week is Honeygun on 8 points. Honeygun and Blue Terrier had poor weeks from the first game week of the Prediction League. Those poor weeks put them 10 points behind Shigstar. Top 2 is Shigstar and Jake. 3rd to 9th is separated by 5 points, so 2 correct predictions from Blue Terrier or Honeygun could put them 3rd. We will not be doing the Boxing Day for predictions, but I will be predicting New Year's Day. Day games. Hope everyone had a great Christmas. That was the community post and the community update. Right now we sit on 134 subscribers, so we are 16 subscribers away from 150 subscribers. So if you like what you see today, please make sure you like and subscribe, and let's get as close as we can to 150 subscribers. Anyway, hope everyone enjoys all this football that we've got on at the moment, and I'll see you in my next video. Peace.